I grew up in Los Angeles, which is one of the places where jazz lives. Um, and my parents were both jazz lovers. And, I started playing music in the fifth grade. And so started pretty young. And I played all the way up through college. Um, my dad, James Bell, used to attend all kinds of different jazz festivals. My mom played jazz at home in the car all the time. So there was always music in the household. And um, I was in the band. When I got into junior high and high school, I was in the marching band. I was the drum major in my 7th, 8th, and 9th and 10th grade years. And that kind of gave me the confidence to step out in front of people, and actually made a few people cry, not intentionally, because I was kind of a hard drum major, but very well respected. um, it's also in the 7th grade is where I met my best friend Tamara. Actually, I met my best friend Tamara Aguilar in the elementary all-city band. She's a phenomenal clarinetist, but when we got into the 7th grade, that's when the two of us became best friends. And she and I went together in the 11th grade to LACSA, the Los Angeles County High School for the Arts. So a very hard school to get into, at least it was for us. We had a lot of help, like in junior high, our junior high school teacher, Mr. Varnardo, was very instrumental in helping us get there. He would give us a lot of challenging repertoire and a lot of solos and things like that, and duets to practice. And then in high school, Dr. Ronald Savitt, he would give us more repertoire to kind of challenge us because we were tired of John Philip Sousa marches. So, and pop songs like Louie Louie. But anyway, he gave us stuff by Stravinsky and Wagner, excerpts and things to practice so that we could, do well on our auditions. And we did, and we got into LACSA. So I don't think we thanked either one of them quite enough for all the contributions that they made to our success, but they were instrumental. Actually, in the 6th grade, I was good enough to play Stars and Stripes Forever with the high school concert band because I had already been playing that for so long. Because both my two older sisters were in band, so I heard all the stuff that they played. And my middle sister, the one right above me, she also played the flute. And I would steal her music sometimes, and I would practice her music. So that was a big deal for me to play with the high school band. But and I did get into theater some and dance as a kid and a young adult, a teenager and young adult. But it was never as prevalent as my passion for music. So music was pretty much always the constant. So as far as the performing arts are concerned. The first band that I was ever in was this calypso steel drum band, led by a friend of my mother's named Chuck County. He was my sister's father's uncle. Yeah, my sisters have a different father than me. His name was Robert Warren, and his uncle had this band, and I was 13 years old and very shy. But I just gave it all I got, and my mother was very supportive. She was at every rehearsal, of course. She had to take me to rehearsals and every performance. I mean, it was a brief period of time. I was probably with that band for like less than a year, but it was really fun. And we played Natalie Cole's, I remember her Calypso Woman, yeah, off of one of her albums. It wasn't the one, it was Take a Look, yeah, that album. And we also played Como Shake It Body Baby Do That Conga by the Miami Sound Machine. So those guys were really fun and very supportive. And actually, I had really bad stage fright at that time. All my life, I've kind of had really bad stage fright. I've not fully overcome it yet, but I've just about overcome it. It's usually like the day before a performance, I get very tingly in my hands and in my feet. And the day of a performance, I cannot eat sometimes. I mean, I do eat a little bit, but it's very hard for me to eat. And I just like pee all day long. So, right. I know. I don't know. Your body, it's that fight or flight, the sympathetic nervous system. But, I've recently been able to conquer that fear, and I don't have that same fear anymore when I'm on stage and I'm performing the kind of music that is right for me, what it's, designed for me. I pretty much know that I have found my niche in jazz, and like I said, it's imprinted on my soul. And knowing that and knowing how deep my connection with it is, and stage fright doesn't become an issue anymore. The spiritual connection that I feel when I play my kind of jazz, which is the Brazilian stuff that I play, and sultry stuff like from the Cannonball Adderley, Miles Davis, Nancy Wilson era, like late 50s, 60s, mid 60s, Horace Silver, Herbie Hancock, all of that stuff. That's my era. That's jazz to me. And I can really feel the presence of the Holy Spirit just flowing out of me when I'm doing that. It's a great feeling. It's like it's coming up to say, hi, hello, here I am, my beloved, and it's just something that I wouldn't trade for anything else in the world. I got my first taste of straight head and Latin jazz while studying at Cal State LA, under the direction of Paul DeCastro. We formed a combo band, the B band, also known as the Reject band. Wasn't the A band. Yeah, we were the Reject ones. The less experienced jazz artist. And I was the lead singer and flautist. So the guys in the band actually named the group Sharla Bell and the Belltones, modeled after Bella Flick and the Flicktones, which I thought was pretty freaking funny, because we did not play jazz fusion. And I think that was Mr. DeCastro's idea, and no one called him Mr. DeCastro. We all called him Paul, but I think that was actually our teacher's idea to do that. But it was cool, and it worked, and we did a lot of jazz festivals at other CSUs, and we did pretty well. So I was happy with it. The first jazz standard that I ever learned was Lullaby of Birdland. And that was a freaking hard tune to learn. I had never done any sight singing before. I could do sight reading. You could put anything in front of me, I could sight read. But sight singing, not so gifted at. And especially not with jazz. I couldn't hardly figure out how to sight sing through the melody, let alone scat. That was just all new and foreign to me. I had no concept of listening into the piano for the chords or the guitar or the bass. I couldn't hear any of that. So it was challenging. Lullaby of Birdland has a lot of difficult descending melodic arpeggiated sequences, and those big huge skips, intervals from note to note between the notes, they're all going by very fast, by the way, while you're singing. So you go, lullaby of birdland, that's what I always hear when you sigh. It was fast to me, and it's But there be ways to reveal in a phrase how I feel. So it's just, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. I just sucked so bad. And to someone who didn't know jazz at the time, it didn't make sense. My brain just couldn't wrap itself around it. But I will say, by the end of the semester, I had mastered Lullaby of Birdland, and it was now one of my new favorite, jazz tunes of all time. So we conquered. And with the Brazilian stuff, uh, we did Gingi. That was the first Brazilian song that I had ever learned. And they wanted it sung in Portuguese because it wasn't enough to sing it in English because this was Los Angeles and they wanted the native tongue. So one of the professors, I don't remember who, took me aside and worked with me on diction and translation and everything, and I fell in love. That was it. I fell absolutely in love with the whole genre, the language, the country, everything. My lifelong dream now became I want to be a Brazilian jazz singer somewhere in Brazil. I want my own Brazilian band. I want to do all Jobim all the time. So that was pretty cool. I spent a lot of hours practicing that song and practicing the lyrics and making sure that I was pronunciating everything correctly. And it was very easy for me to do because I had already had influence in Spanish, and I could speak some Spanish growing up in LA because everybody speaks Spanish, and I also minored in Spanish later on. But at that time, I just was very heavily influenced by Spanish-speaking people, so it came kind of naturally.